G'day guys, and welcome to the Centre Bounce, where today I will be going through Luke Jackson under the spotlight and seeing whether or not you should start him in your side. Let's go. Yes, Luke Jackson, he moved across from Melbourne to the Fremantle Dockers last year, played his first season there, and look, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. Let's just leave it at that. Especially from the WA media, absolutely giving him a lot of issues, a lot of troubles, and putting him under a different sort of spotlight to the one that we're putting him under today. Ours is definitely a lot more lighthearted and really Supercoach related, as opposed to what the WA media subjected him to last year. So we love you, we respect you, LJ. But we're here talking about your Supercoach viability, and let us go. So here we are on our trusty friend DFS Australia, and he had a great year last year, despite all of the ruckus around him. He ended up with a career best 97.9 average, which is kind of crazy for someone who only had 44% CBAs in terms of attendances. But there's one thing that we cannot forget as super coaches and general football fans as well. Fremantle have one of the premier ruckmen already in the competition. They already got one, you see, if you know that reference. They already got one. They have Sam Darcy. They have Sam Darcy already, who is in the prime of his career, mind you. So things are looking interesting when he decided to make the decision to go across to Fremantle, knowing that he would really struggle to get the number one spot as the number one ruckman. But as you can see, he played just about every single game last year, starting from round one. Now, because we're talking about a ruckman, in addition to this, the game logs and the statistics associated with it, we also have seen the CBAs. Now I've already pre-clicked Fremantle because we're talking about a Fremantle player, but there's also one other thing that we're going to have to use on DFS Australia that we haven't used as of yet this year, and that is back here again on the home AFL page. We don't go CBAs, we don't go kick-ins, we go to Ruck contests. So we click on Ruck contests. It's on Adelaide already, but we want to go to Fremantle. And we want to look at the Ruck contest against Fremantle, because if you just simply think about it in terms of just sound logic, if you are the number one ruckman, it means you're going to be in the most number of Ruck contests, which gives you the greatest probability of getting more hitouts to advantage to your midfield, which nets you more points. The more Ruck contests you're in, the more chances you have to get these extra 1%ers and these hitouts to advantage, more tackles. The ball is being literally thrown to you. it's a ball up. It's a ball up in the middle of the ground. You are jumping. The ball is being set up for you. It's a throw in. You are literally getting the ball thrown to you. So if you are a number one ruckman, and especially the case if you're a sole ruckman, then you have the absolute lion's share of all of these opportunities to get more points. And being a ruckman, there aren't too many of them on a list. So if you can own that position, you're essentially owning the points for that role. You're not sharing it with other ruckmen, because in the midfield, you have a bunch of other midfielders on the ground with you that you're sharing the midfield role rotations with. If you're a forward, you're sharing it with other forwards. If you're a defender, exactly the same. But as a ruckman, if you are a sole ruckman, then you really are sharing it with anybody, and you're essentially getting all these points for free. However, that is not the case at Fremantle, especially in the first half of the season. We can see the breakdown of the Ruck contest. It was overwhelmingly in Sean Darcy's favour, and why not? Why wouldn't it be? Sean Darcy was the man already there. Luke Jackson joined him, so Sean Darcy was already there. It was already his team. He's a gun hit out, ruckman, big monster of a man. And it would make sense for him to still be the primary ruck. Plus, Luke Jackson has had experience playing as the second ruckman coming across from Melbourne, where he was second fiddle to Max Gawn in that premiership winning season as well. He's got experience playing in the forward line, and he's very agile and mobile that he can play that role. So it was always going to be the case that where both Sean Darcy and Luke Jackson are playing together on the same team on the same day, it's going to be primarily a Sean Darcy ruck time, followed by Luke Jackson. So as we can see here, for essentially almost the entire first half of the season, it was Sean Darcy. In round 11 against Melbourne, it was a big flip. What happened in round 11 to cause that to happen? If we can just come here. In round 11, let's look at the CBAs. Sean Darcy, only 23% CBAs in that game, whereas Luke Jackson had 73%. Okay, so we've got, this was a really stark difference. I don't know what happened in that game. Let's try and see against Melbourne what in the world happened. 65% rock contest, 73% CBAs. Can the heat map tell us anything different? Heat map shows is some forward, a couple of forward disposals around the boundary line. So for throw-ins, makes sense. He's involved in the ruck contest around there. A few centre bounce attendances. He can get some disposals here and there. Okay, so that sort of makes sense. But let's go into the match specifically. And I really want to look at the time on ground statistics. What happened there? Okay, so Luke Jackson had the most time on ground. Sean Darcy only 25%. And that explains it. So Sean Darcy got injured in this game, was only around for 25% of the time, and probably was subbed out maybe. So Sean Darcy was injured, meaning that Luke Jackson became the sole ruckman from that point. And that could explain then why this was a bye, why there was no Sean Darcy for the next 2 weeks, and why all of a sudden Luke Jackson's ruck contests skyrocketed. So we see it here that Sean Darcy gets injured and all of a sudden he pops off. Let's have a look and compare the scoring between rounds 1 to 10 and then rounds 13 and 14. Let's go back. So between rounds 1 through to round 10, round 11 was the transition game where it was sort of half and half, but mostly in his favor. And then we compare that to rounds 13 and 14. So in these 10 games, he's averaged, let's say he's averaged 88 in those 10 games. Not good enough. Frankly, not good enough. Compare that to rounds 13 and 14. Averaged 118.5. So you see there is a 30-point swing. 30-point increase in average all of a sudden between him being second fiddle to him being sole ruck. And that's exactly the statistics right there. The numbers just perfectly showed in real life what I just said in terms of the difference between being a backup or assisting ruck, second ruck, compared to being a sole ruck. It is night and day different. And that is why everyone and their mum is starting with Gawn and Grundy, because they're both going to be solo rucks. And that is for their price points, they're insane. But Luke Jackson is different. Luke Jackson has forward eligibility based on how much forward time he's played last year due to sharing the ruck with Darcy. Now, Darcy is not in the best situation. Shout out once again to George, JD and Eno, Fantasy Tech TV. This is their Discord. This is as of the 11th of Jan. Darcy trained away from the main group. He looks to be at least a few weeks away from full training. So Sean Darcy is not full training. Sean Darcy is still a few weeks away from full training. Now we're in January. By a few weeks, that would put us into Feb, almost mid-Feb, maybe, perhaps. This is all speculation, and that's what we have to sort of keep on top of. But we can clearly see the stark difference between because if Sean Darcy is playing, if Sean Darcy is healthy, he's going to be the number one ruck. And if he's the number one ruck, it means we're not going to get great scores out of Luke Jackson. But if he's not around, and Luke Jackson all of a sudden becomes a very tantalizing option in the forward line. In the forward line. Can you imagine in the forward line we get 118.5? Of course, that is best case scenario. So we've got, all right. And we saw that Sean Darcy was out of the picture between rounds 19 and 24. Okay. So let's have a look at that average. From 19, in the last 6 games of the season, 118 average for Luke Jackson. 118 average. And if we consider 13 and 14, again, it's still 118 average. So it's pretty remarkable. It's quite remarkable. If we can have a Sean Darcy-less Fremantle, then Luke Jackson is an absolute lock in the forward line. Because he's not only going to be top 6 forward, he could be number 1. He could be F1 for the season. Formula 1 and everything. Flying ahead of everybody in the pack. And that's what we need to know. And that's what we need to track really, really closely. Because when he's playing with Sean Darcy, he is playing centre-half forward. And we just look at the first few games. What's his heat map like? His heat map is red in the forward line. That's round 1. Round 2, let's have a look. It's red in the forward line, and then he would pinch hit in some ruck contests around the ground. Round 3 against West Coast, it's red in the forward line. That's not what we want. We don't want forwards who are playing forward. That is the worst case scenario. We want to avoid them. The only exceptions to forwards who are playing forwards are your gun key forwards. Like, for example, Kerno from last year, who is clearly one of the best players in the competition for his value price in the 200,000 mark, was insane. Tex Walker the year before, coming off of suspension, I should say, for what reasons. He was really cheap. You bring him in. He's one of the best key forwards in the competition. Value for that price. People are thinking about Tom Lynch perhaps this year, if he can be healthy. A video on him, a spotlight on him, will be coming up around the corner, so don't you worry about that. But yeah, we don't want him to be playing forward. If he's playing forward, then it's no good to us. We want him in the ruck where he belongs. RK is what we want. We want a heat map like this. We don't want a heat map with the red here. We want the heat map with the red in the middle. We want the heat map like this. Maybe not quite like this. What happened in this game? Round 23. What? What happened in round 23? He scored 123 against Port Adelaide. 87% CBA, so he just didn't get a lot of the pill. Yeah, only 11 disposals. just did not get a lot of the pill. But still, regardless, he got points for his hitouts. So you don't need a lot of disposals as a ruckman if you've got a gun midfield, which Fremantle have. They've got a gun midfield. They've got Sarong. They've got Brayshaw. And now they've also added Hayden Young to that midfield mix, which they really thought was a good move for him. And I agree. I think he might have found his new position, Hayden Young, which is why we've all got him in our Supercoach sides. So not only is Luke Jackson going to be tapping out, he's got that agility to help at ground level, a Grundy style extra midfielder that can push forward. So if, and it's a big if Sean Darcy is not right come round 1, then Luke Jackson becomes a very tantalizing option. Okay. Now, Sean Darcy is the big Shrek you can almost count on him to get injured every now and then. He's very injury prone. However, that doesn't stop him from playing in the season. He played 15 games in round 23, 21 games in 21 games in 21 and 22, 15 in 2020. So he's always gonna pop up. And as soon as he pops up, it's gonna kill Luke Jackson. So personally for me, Luke Jackson is a bit risky in that respect. There's no need to finalize a team obviously right now, and just because Sean Darcy might not be around in round one doesn't mean that he's not going to come back at some point, and he will then resume R1 status. However, if the news and the reports suggest that Sean Darcy is a way out still, he suffers more setbacks, then Luke Jackson really becomes a viable option, and one that I think we all should be looking to have in our forward line, especially because he's also got that sensational buy that he shares with Port Adelaide, just to add that extra tantalising bit of, temptation, I suppose, to selecting him. I personally won't go there unless we get a report that Sean Darcy is out for a significant amount of time. But if you're in the know, and you sort of predict that Sean Darcy is going to take a lot longer to come back. And even if he does come back, they might manage him more and play him forward more to give Luke Jackson an opportunity. Let us know in the comments down below. But personally, for me, as incredible as the upside that could be there, how as impressive as that is, I personally won't be doing it. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that was my discussion on Luke Jackson, putting him under our spotlight here at the Centre Bounce. If you like what I had to say today and the way I went about it, please drop us a like down below. We'd greatly appreciate it as a show of support that you like what we're doing here. A subscription if you're new, hit that notification bell because we are pumping out the content like no one's business. Let me know in the comments if you agree with me, if there was anything that I missed in relation to Sean Darcy and Luke Jackson. Also, let me know in the comments down below if there's anyone in particular that you would like me to dive into and to analyze like this. I'm definitely taking requests and I'm more than happy to help you all out because, like I said in all of the videos beforehand, I want us to be the best we can and to give ourselves the best chance of winning the 50K. And with that, guys, it's been your boy Joe doing the hard work here on the Centre Bounce so that you don't have to. See you all in the next one.